Good afternoon, ladies and menfolk, and welcome to another episode of Word Ninjas Live. Yes, another title change, and hopefully this one actually sticks, because it seems to be the most appropriate. Because we are not a podcast, since we have video. We are not a vlogcast, because that term is just plain awkward. But we are live, because it is November 3rd, 3:02 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, factoring in daylight savings, which confused the heck out of me this morning. Joining...
Oh, I'm sorry. Isn't it, now that the clocks are rolled back now, isn't it just standard time now?
I can never remember which half of the year is what. All I know is that half my clocks auto-switched and the other half didn't.
That must have been fun. Especially waking up this morning.
Especially as my alarms went off at completely different times than they should have.
Oh, no.
Oh,
But yeah, digressions aside.
yes. Officially saying that I am Charles Muir, your instigator of literary insanity, and joining me today is Calvin Williams.
Hello, hello.
And unfortunately, the rest of the podcast crew, or whatever the heck we want to call ourselves now, are
All the other word
otherwise
ninjas.
engaged. Yes. Some are off working and some are off at local writing events. Because we're doing way too much.
Nothing particularly new.
True. But yes, we thought we'd provide another episode anyway.
Because why not?
And because Nano.
And that too.
Yeah, somehow it magically became November at some point. So now it's even more insane than normal, if that's even possible. I think I've already been to about 8 hours worth of writing events, officially, never mind the hours that I get there early to help set up and the time that I stick around afterwards.
You mean just this week?
Just since Friday, since it kicked off on the 1st.
Oh my.
Yeah. And apparently I'm going to have to start setting up an RSVP system for our events because I was expecting maybe 5, 10 people. No, we get 19, 20 per event.
Excellent.
Felt a little sorry for the cafe on Friday because we did just take over the whole place. There were 2 seats left for just random people.
Yeah, it just means more business for them.
Oh, we
Hopefully.
gave them plenty of good business for a solid 5 or 6 hours. I think they were expecting a nice quiet Friday shift. That's not allowed when writers gather in groups.
Hey, business is business, so I can't imagine they can complain too much.
Yeah, and we were good. I mean, we put everything back in order afterwards, and I don't think we scared too many random people away. I mean, we are a group of writers, so we're going to start asking questions like, how do you use this medieval term in modern-day English? Or how exactly would you go about killing someone using 2 different poisons that are inert when alone, but together will create all sorts of chaos? I mean, it's perfectly normal writerly questions, nothing out of the ordinary.
I already have an answer to that question.
All right, what's your answer?
Put one poison in the drink, the other poison in the food. Quick, dirty.
What if the first half has to be a time release portion or something that can stay within the body system for a week or 2? And then what?
Just continue adding the other poison in the person's food for the rest of the week until it takes effect.
That would work. And for anyone who's either watching or will watch this in the future, we are not condoning murdering people through poison over time or anything of the sort. Remember, we're writers. We only kill characters. Honest. We had talking points today, didn't we?
We
Let's
did?
move on to those.
Oh yeah, that's right, that's right, that's right.
Convenient segue. Alright, talking point number one is going to be a little quick this week, considering how many people are on the show today.
And
Considering...
also, and also, how many people out of those taking part today are actually participating?
Yeah, that too. But yeah, talking point number one. It is NaNoWriMo week. Number one. So we're touching base. How are things going for everyone? Well, for the 3 people unable to attend today's episode, I know Will and Ed are, let's see, 5,000 and 6,000 words, respectively. I'm not sure about Justin. And as for myself, I'm at about 5,000 and change. Which is good, because that's today's word count goal.
How much?
It's like 5,002, I think, is the goal for today.
Oh, okay.
It's 1,667 times 3.
Gotcha.
I'm too lazy to do that in my head. 5,001. I was close.
Yeah, good enough. Our colleague Justin has actually provided some answers to this talking point, and since I am not taking part in Nano, I'd be more than happy to read his response.
All right, you can be Justin's voice for today.
Alright, according to Justin, he's planning on hitting his word count goal today. Unfortunately, work has become a nightmare. He's mentioned that quite a few times. But even still, he's managed to find the time. The story in his head is good, but he fears there may be a bit too much filler. And another issue he's been having with his story so far is that it's kind of controversial, but no real references to work from.
Yeah, that's one of the ever-existing problems with Nano. There's going to be a lot of filler. That's kind of unavoidable. I've kind of found a good balance so far, although that's not going to work once work kicks in again, but I've been using 750words.com to get my primary 1667 words down for the day. And then, because I've had the time over the weekend, I go back later and try and expand it to a full 2,000 and do minor editing for that day's worth of words. That way I can kind of clean up some of the filler, or at least just note it accordingly so that I can pull it out when I do a proper run-through.
Okay.
And I already know that for my version so far, it's going to be adding a lot more subtext and little subplots in the next go-around, because there's a lot of things that I'm not hitting on that I was planning to.
Ah.
Yeah. The whole goal of this one was to focus primarily on the whole concept of my main character is a bipolar empath. So how does she learn to control her emotions and her powers and whatnot? And so far there is very little talk about telepathy or empathy in the story. It's just fighting weird auto or biomechanical dolls and losing her job and trying to find a new place to live and all that stuff. So more mundane things.
There's plenty you can touch on, especially like losing her job and how that affects her emotionally and how that could trigger her bipolar disorder. Just something to think about.
Yeah, I tried playing with that a little bit today because she's now had a month to recover from having one of the biomechanical dolls explode in her face and give her minor iodine poisoning,
Ooh,
which basically snowballed into, hey, you didn't really protect the people you were supposed to protect very effectively, so you're fired.
ooh, okay.
So now she's kind of just hanging out with one of the fellow guards who got fired because he lost an arm and isn't overly effective now.
I can kind of see how that could be an issue.
Yeah, I'm not a good person to my characters. They don't like me very much.
It seems to be a common theme with all of the word ninjas here.
I think writers in general, we are not very nice to our characters.
Then again, being nice to your characters makes for a very boring story.
True. Unless it's one of those awkward slice of life literary fiction pieces that we're forced to read in high school or freshman comp. Those are always fun, only not.
Blah. But so far, it seems like everything's going according to plan.
Yeah, more or less, but that's just because I've still been on my vacation. The first vacation I've had for the entire year, and I've spent it being busier than if I were at work. So we'll see what happens once I have my full 40-hour-a-week job and the whole night classes and traveling in between and all that fun.
Good luck with that.
I will need it. Especially since I'm technically still the municipal liaison for my region, and I'm supposed to set some form of an example during Nano. So I really should not fall behind.
Well, that's your motivation right there.
Yeah, as long as I can at least stay on quota, I'll be okay. I already know that I'm not exactly going to be wowing anyone with my word count, considering most of the people hit 5,000 on day one
Holy hell, how did they do that?
by just going to the write-in and writing.
Hey, more power to them.
Hmm.
I'm trying to think about like my biggest personal word count in a day. Let me see if I can find that.
In one day, for me, it was 10,000 and like 200 words or some such.
Yeesh. That's pretty damn good.
Yeah, that was on a Black Friday when we do our annual write-a-thon from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. And the goal is to write 10,000 words.
Nice.
Mainly because why would I want to go out on Black Friday? It's crazy out there.
Yeah, if I can find that story, I'll blurt out my word count. But
All right.
we can move on to the next talking point if um nothing more can be said about week one.
Yeah, I think week one is mostly just getting used to the high of being able to start a new story finally, and all the waiting and anticipation of Nano has finally kicked in. That'll burn off by next weekend. Which kind of rolls into talking point number 2. What are the highs and lows of starting a new story? Well, for me, I really enjoy getting to meet the new characters and explore the new worlds, create weird civilizations, and basically I get to play God for a little while. I get to create a whole new universe and figure out all the fiddly little logistic bits that go into it. Even if it's just a redo of a previous story or kind of an adaptation of something else, it's still effectively something new. So there are no real rules until I create them. Anything is possible.
Hmm. Raise a good point there.
And then the lows are, well, once I start making the rules, do they really stick or are they just stupid? And then trying to figure out how much stuff do I really need to create and organize before the plot will work, and how much needs to be pulled out because it'll just break the universe.
Hmm.
That usually doesn't hit until I get about 10,000 words into a story, because by then the characters more or less figure out their voice and personalities, and then the universe kind of solidifies a little bit around that. Would you care
Hmm.
to take Justin's piece, as he has updated that talking point?
Yeah, sure, I can do that, and I will make my contribution thereafter.
All right.
Even though I didn't write one, I got one. Uh, According to Justin, the best part of starting a new story is all of the epic scenes you've had in your head and how you will craft them and put them on paper. There's nothing more exhilarating as preparing to write fast-paced, frenetic scenes. Then there are the other scenes, the background, the exposition scenes. They're necessary and help you connect to your characters, but they usually don't follow a strict plot outline.
Hmm.
So it's so kind of the highs and lows of trying to tie everything together.
And where do you stand on creating new stories or music, as the case may be?
For stories, I think I might have. I think this is something I mentioned in a previous podcast, but like more like the high for me more so than after trying to plot out your characters and everything. I'm always excited about building the world around it, building the world around the characters, and seeing how they interact with everything around them. Hopefully, not maiming them too terribly in the process. That's the big draw for me. The the lows for me is trying to like really build a character throughout the story to make them not completely one dimensional, and like you would think with having the world built around them like beforehand the way I enjoy, you think it would be like a little bit easier to help progress the characters more so than the story, but that's something I've always had a little trouble with. So this like one of the many demons to fight during a story.
And usually it gets a little easier as you go along. Sometimes.
It does get a little easier after a while, but you have your usual like writing yourself into a wall, writing your character into something that like you weren't planning to, or anything that makes sense for that matter.
Oh, I would never do that. When does that happen? Except every
and
other freaking page.
and then the harrowing decision as whether or not to try to backtrack and redo, or just roll with it. See where this goes. Fingers crossed, fingers crossed. Oh God.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Sometimes there's some dice rolling involved if I'm really indecisive.
Yeah, any little thing that can push things along can help. Yeah, for music, on the other hand, the high is always the initial idea. Like for me, most of my ideas just like kind of pop up out of nowhere, and I'm always excited about like getting getting to my music software and start working on it. There's a lot of lows though. Um, my personal lows are one, the fact that I don't have like an actual keyboard to like play my notes, so I just use my mouse and my my typing keyboard to try to get the notes down, and that is such a ridiculously slow process that by the time I've built this idea in my head and I'm ready to jot it down, I forget it, and most of my songs start morphing into completely different beasts than what I plan to. And then there are the times where I just hit a just complete solid steel wall. You've seen me hit those walls quite a few times with some of my songs.
Yeah, once or twice per song.
There are a few instances where I'm actually able to either break through that solid stainless steel wall or just jump over it. But there have been a lot of songs where I just hit the wall and said, I'll put. Well, I'd never like honestly said, you know what, I give up. It's more like, let me put this down. I'll let my brain simmer on it for a little while, and that little while will turn into a few years.
And then when you come back, that pot is not really simmering anymore. It's just turned into a really creepy looking science experiment stew that may or may not be looking back at you.
I just thought of the episode of Cowboy Bebop where that old Ganymede rock lobster had taken over the ship completely and like like almost destroyed everybody in it. And Spike had to open the bay doors to not just get rid of the Ganymede rock lobster itself, but the refrigerator that it was in, because it was just that much of an abomination. When I think of some of my songs, I kind of think about that. Thankfully, my unfinished song folder is a virtual entity and not organic,
For
because
now.
it would look like at least 23, 24, 25 refrigerators worth of Ganymede rock lobsters.
That sounds terrifying.
It is. That's just how big my unfinished work folder is. Maybe one of these days I'll battle those rock lobsters.
I don't even know what the figurative equivalent for all of my unfinished stories would be. Something Cthulhu-esque, probably. Let's see. So, that's one stack. That's another stack. That's those stacks. Oh yeah, those. I probably have a good 12 inches worth of just printed out papers of unfinished stories and whatnot scattered about my room. And that's the hard copies. I don't even know about digital at this point.
Yikes. It's just a tad scary. We seem to have a lot of old Ganymede rock lobsters in our lives.
I'm going to go with sure, because I still have yet to see that series, so I'm not really sure what the full reference is.
I'll send you that episode too, so you can witness it for yourself. Witness the terror that is the spoiled Ganymede rock lobster.
Well, in the meantime, we can roll on to talking point number 3 for this week. What do you listen to when writing? Silence, background noise, music, etc.
I think I'll start off.
All right.
For me, it depends on how I'm feeling and what I'm doing. So, for music, I usually try to just uh, have like nice bit of silence. Maybe I'll leave the TV on in the background just to kind of offset the dead air whenever I'm trying to think of how to continue the song. But there have been a couple of times that's actually worked in my favor. There was an EDM track I was working on, and I happened to be watching I wasn't necessarily watching, but there was a marathon of house going on in the background, and after inadvertently hearing the theme from House a solid 5 times that day, I ended up incorporating a lot of the instruments in that song into my song. So it's kind of interesting how your mind kind of picks up on things while you're not really like giving it an honest thought.
Hmm. Yeah, considering the things we used to have on in the background in college, that explains a lot of my writing.
The first song that came to mind was the Swedish cover of Jump.
Diggy Loo Diggy Lay by the Black Ingvars, Swedish metal cover band.
I think that's the like if I were to pinpoint like one reason why we're like bugged out as we are, it could be attributed to that song alone.
Yeah, there are worse or weirder covers that they've done, so it's probably a good thing that it's that song.
Hmm. Perhaps you're right.
Well, they also did a Swedish metal cover of Bananas in Pajamas. It's actually
Ooh,
rather entertaining from what I remember, but very weird, even for us.
I'm gonna have to find that song. But yeah, I digress. Yeah, that's uh, that's usually what I do for music. For writing, I don't have a particular genre that I favor for writing. It's basically either um, whatever catches my eye when I look through my music folder, whether it be an album or a particular artist, or I just turn on some random internet radio and pick an artist and make a radio station out of that, and just let my mind wander and uh, try to get things going from there. How about yous?
As for me, for Nano this year, it's mostly been a lot of music from the band Beats Antique. Uh, Primarily because it's minimal vocals. Usually it's just instrumental and whatnot, but it has very engaging beats to them, so it's good background music for writing fight scenes and engaging dialogue and all that goodness. And then I also have the band Abney Park because they do a lot of good steampunk styled songs.
Nice.
And if it's just more general writing, I've recently gone to either chill step because it's a nice low key background noise. And if I've had too much caffeine, I've sometimes done nightcore as well. But that gets pretty silly pretty fast.
I can't say I've actually listened to Chill Step. I'm gonna have to look into that. You
I
can email.
mostly do, like on Groove Shark, I search chill step and then whatever pops up. It's kind of like low key trance music, somewhat.
Sounds interesting. Pardon me a moment. We have a question.
You have a question?
Um, Actually, it's a question from Justin.
Ah, I have not been keeping up with that chat. But yeah, I found that just having some sort of music in the background while I'm writing is very useful. It provides enough distraction for my inner editor and inner critic so that I can write. And headphones are a very useful thing if I'm out at a cafe or somewhere where there are peoples. And sometimes even when I'm at home, depending on how much background stuff is going on.
Okay. Do you have any particular headphones that that are your go-tos, or just any headphones?
My default preferences have become the brand that I'm now blanking on the name of because I don't have a set at the moment. What the hell were they? Something. I'm currently running on a pair of like Radio Shack brand earbuds because my last set broke. Because I
Ah,
am very, very rough on my earbuds because I use them daily in my travels. What
gotcha.
what headphones do you use?
I actually have a pair of Bose over-the-ear headphones that I got for Christmas, and they are some of the best headphones I've ever used.
Aren't we
And
fancy?
yeah, yeah they're one of my favorites. I used to have in-ear headphones, and I still excuse me, I still have a few pairs laying around somewhere. I mainly use in case I leave my Bose at work, or am going out for a run. But when I'm going running, I'm not particularly like focused on sound quality. I'm just more focused on having something to listen to while I'm running.
Yeah, I found that just like regular sized headphones don't really do it for me because they let in too much background noise. Because New York is noisy. I need the noise neutralizing headphones at the least, if not noise canceling. So the earbuds tend to do that pretty effectively. That's what it
Um,
was. Tweaked audio headphones are the brand that I normally go for.
okay. Not familiar with them, but I'm guessing they're of pretty solid quality.
Yeah, they have really good audio quality to them, so you can get a solid range from regardless of what you're listening to, whether it's from dubstep to speech to normal music to whatever. They're a little pricey, but normally I can get a discount from some of the various podcasts I listen to.
Okay.
And they've replaced several of my sets for free because they have a lifetime guarantee of some sort. And they're usually pretty good about replacing a headset once one of the two head earpieces starts going or anything like that.
Gotcha. Hey, CJ,
Hey, Calvin.
is it possible at all for you to send an invite to Justin? Because apparently he's actually around.
Da. I can if I can figure out the new layout of Google Hangouts. Okay, there we go. Because they keep moving stuff around. I think they get bored.
They're always looking to add stuff here, add stuff to Google Plus. Honestly, a lot of it is pretty cool, but it just gets a little jarring whenever they add new stuff. It's kind of like the Facebook effect, but
Hmm.
only slightly less jarring.
Well, whatever they've added this time around, I don't know. It's just shuffling things about. Hey, Justin.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Excellent.
You've been demustached.
Yes, de-bearded, de-mustached, de-loused.
Just a good look.
I prefer the mustache actually, but wife says no, and that's the end of that conversation basically.
Yeah, you get outvoted pretty easily that way.
So I apologize for the misunderstanding about my whereabouts.
Yeah, it
just
happens.
just quite all right.
Where are you guys at? I'm assuming you busted out all the talking points.
No.
I think we've covered the three talking points at this point and then got significantly derailed talking about headphones.
Yeah, we were actually on talking point 3. What do you listen to when writing? Things of that nature.
I see, I see. To add to the derailment, I prefer my Sony earbuds that I've had for years and years. The only times they ever break is when I get them caught in a door jam, which is
Uh,
mostly my fault. So I have a pair on deck at all times, so I can instantly transition to a new pair and not have to wait for shipping.
Nice.
yeah, that's something I need to think about with my Bose headphones. Thankfully, they have a ooh, those are nice. Thankfully, they have a breakaway cord.
Mm-hmm.
So in the events, which are quite often, where I get them caught either in a door or like I get them snagged somewhere, they just pop off from the straight from the headphone.
Oh, that's cool.
And another nice thing about that is the cord. I could always order another cord in the event that one day I actually like sever that cord completely, which
Hmm.
is definitely going to happen one of these days, seeing as how I accidentally got the jack part of the cord caught underneath my door.
How did
Hmm.
you manage that one?
I don't know. I was leaving my house. I thought I had it plugged into my MP3 player. I go to close the door. The door gives me trouble. I look down. Oh shit! The jack was almost cut in half.
Yeesh.
Thankfully, the quality of the cord is immaculate, and all that's left, like the only thing that happened was there's like two really nice gashes in the plastic, but no damage to the cord itself.
Hooray.
So now that we've waxed poetic about the quality of our headphones, Justin, what do you like to listen to when you're writing?
Uh, it depends what I'm writing. If I'm getting pumped up for a specific scene of inspiration that I got from the music itself, I'll often listen to that track. Makes sense. Sometimes I'll listen to it over and over again. But most of the time I've been listening to some chill step, which is like a female vocal filled, like low key dubstep that isn't as annoying.
Which explains your affinity to Nero's Promises.
Yes. If you liked that Nero album, I have many more artists I can recommend you that are even more chill and less hard than that.
Please do.
Okay,
We'll talk about that after the podcast.
sure. I'm getting a slight echo. I don't know if you guys are getting that or if it's only on my end. I'm hearing myself through somebody else's speakers.
I can kind of hear that, but barely. I'm running off of my headphones, so it's probably not me.
I don't I don't think it's me.
We're all
No,
wearing
it's not
headphones,
me.
right? Hmm.
Maybe it's
No.
just a new addition to Google Hangouts.
Google Hangouts Echo. Echo.
Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, that basically anything that doesn't have lyrics. I can't stand listening to lyrics while I'm writing.
Even if it's in another language that you're not familiar with.
Yes, because I end up singing along anyways. Especially if it's Asian-oriented. Guilty pleasures of K-pop and J-pop abound. But I also like listening to white noise, and while I'm actually typing, the pitter patter of my own typing actually keeps me going really well. I try to maintain tempo with my
Hmm.
writing, especially when I'm doing word wars. And so when I hear my own typing, it propels me to do even better somehow.
So I'm not the only one that does that.
No, I love listening to myself type. It'd be a little more devastating on a keyboard. I mean, on a typewriter than a keyboard. Um, I cannot type fast on a keyboard. Not that I can type fast. I mean, I can't type fast on a typewriter or a keyboard for that matter.
Well, the typewriter won't really let you type too fast.
No,
So that
especially
has a
yours.
speed all its own.
And actually, I can probably touch upon the other talking points when we get into what are you reading and writing. Since, guess what? Things I've been writing involve Nano.
What a surprise. I think we've covered the three talking points pretty well, so onwards to the what have you been reading or writing segment, unless Calvin has something last minute to add.
No. We
Alrighty then.
we shall move forward.
Onwards, and maybe upwards. So, presumably, some of us have been writing and possibly reading. Would anyone like to kick off?
Even though I haven't been taking part in Nano, I've actually been surprisingly writing some lyrics. Like actually, excuse me, actually getting like decently far into a song that came to mind not too long ago. This is actually a song that popped up in my head like a solid 5 years ago that I just couldn't find the lyrics for. But one day it came back and lyrics started happening, and so I ran to my laptop as quick as I could to start jotting it down before I forgot them. And apparently it's a love song.
Hmm.
Pretty pretty mellow love song, all acoustic instruments, primarily acoustic instruments. It's gonna be interesting how that one pans out. Like if I were to give it like any sort of any describe it, describe the vibe at all, the vibe kind of reminds you of Sheryl Crow's "All I Want to Do Is Have Some Fun."
Interesting.
So it's
Uh,
upbeat.
so it's upbeat, really upbeat acoustic, kind of like nothing too heavy, kind of like decently light sounding track.
I just realized that upbeat in musical terms probably has an actual definition involving music and is not just about emotion.
Oh yeah, there's terms for that I'm completely blanking on at the moment. And I know one of our listeners will probably comment in about 2 minutes as to what the actual term is. It's been way too long since I played with sheet music, so I've forgotten which term is for what at this point.
I'm lucky I remember bass and treble clef.
It'll come to one of us. I'll figure it out, or our viewer, one of our viewers will. But yeah, that's what I've been writing. Um, Reading, not so much, unless you count all of the work stuff that I've been trying to hammer away at for the database we're trying to build.
Well, that's not very fun.
And I
Eh,
think I already did that reading work related things joke in like episode 4 or something. So no, I don't allow it. Doesn't count.
Maybe next week.
I have been reading a metric ton of productivity blog posts in anticipation of generating content for my website. I have a bunch of sources that I cull articles from, and then I save them to Pocket on my tablet, which I can read later. And it backed up to about 13 pages of articles that I had to go through, and I'm not even close to finishing that backlog. So I've been doing a lot of blog reading.
And how goes Nano for you?
Um, after this podcast, I'll hit my goal for today. I'm trying to keep it at about 1667 words a day. I don't want to go too over and give myself a buffer. I want to force myself to learn how to find time in the day, every day, to work on a project, whether it be writing or otherwise. So by doing that, I'm really forcing myself to keep on track, and hopefully something catastrophic doesn't happen. So far, I've been meeting my goals, but it's only day 3, and I haven't written today yet, so there's still plenty of time for horrific failure. Work has been a nightmare, as I've alluded to in the past. Um,
Yeah,
And
seems
I've
like
got a
you're
good.
working 30 hours per day.
Yes, it does feel that way sometimes, and my timesheets often reflect similar statistics. And I have a good story in my head, but I'm afraid that I'm going to hit the point where I have to put in a lot of filler material. I have key plot scenes, um, but that's only going to take me about a third of the way there. There's a lot of in-between exposition stuff that I'm going to have to write that don't really follow up, you know, plot line. Even if I were to write down what the plot points were and kind of outline my novel, these are the types of things that wouldn't be in it. So I'm not looking forward to those days when I feel uninspired and I'm talking about just two people having a conversation. But that comes with the territory. Um, the last couple of days I've been writing some very difficult and controversial scenes for my story Lily for NaNoWriMo. The name is subject to change, as I remembered recently that Lily shares the name of my coworker's daughter, and given the nature of the content, that's probably not wise.
Ooh.
I am writing a horror novel, and I'll leave it at that for now. Lily, being the title, the titular character, as you will, plays a very important role, and you know, bad and good things happen. But I should probably change the name to somebody that is not an immediate family member of somebody that I'm close to. But Lily is such a cute name.
Maybe you can use some derivative form of Lily, like Lila or something.
Yeah, something like even like, well, maybe not lilac, but something like that. I was also floating around Alice, but I think that would be confusing to somebody looking at a bookshelf of books. Um, they may add some connotations of their own in there, and I'm sure there's a book already called Alice. And there's probably a book already called Lily, to be honest. But then there's like, maybe I'll change it to Amber or something. I don't know. Although Amber might be a little on the nose for the content too. But enough about my rambling. Um, yeah, I was writing this scene of a very tragic scene that I don't have a lot of experience with, so I find it difficult to write. And due to the personal nature of the events and how closely they relate to actual events that have happened very recently, I am struggling to find people to talk to about these events without stirring up some dark emotional uh, issues within those people. So I'll have to take to the internet and probably turn incognito on. I apologize for the vagueness. Um, I'd rather not get into it yet until I have something that's actually worth reading.
No worries.
Then I can justify my writing. Yes, this horrible thing happens in the first two chapters, but the rest of the novel's really good.
Sounds like a good summary for my novel, only things don't necessarily get better. Bad things just keep happening.
Yeah, you alluded to that at the last Nano event.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm relatively on track. I think I'm over 5,000 words for today, so I've hit the daily quota, but I want to try and do 2,000 a day to build a little buffer. Because I know there's going to be a day or two where I'm not going to be able to write because there's too much other stuff all piling in on certain days, so sometimes a balance has to be figured out. And at the moment, even though I've hit the 5,000, I'm skipping a lot of the subtext and subplots that I've outlined. So it's going to be interesting to try and weave those back in. Because the whole cerebral part of my cerebral steampunk is entirely missing at the moment.
It's funny, I tend to use Nano as an outline in and of itself more than actual story writing. It's a very evolved, very long-winded outline to what I'd actually be writing. If I were to take last year's Nano novel, the first thing I would do is probably throw the entire thing away, because about halfway through November I realized that I didn't actually have a plot at all. I just had interesting characters and an interesting-ish setting, but no actual story. And I wrote a lot before I figured that out. But even that said, I would probably throw everything out and start fresh, and kind of use mine as a loose outline, and maybe reread it and highlight some really good writing passages that I really liked. Like, for example, um, even if I were to throw out what I'm writing this year, I had a really good line that I really liked, talking about white sheets over bodies, and how it looked like unfinished marble statues.
Hmm.
And I thought that was a really cool visual. So that line will probably stay in my new novel, and I'll probably highlight that and tag it at some point. But the rest of the thing will probably get thrown out and start fresh.
Yeah, the initial inspirations for my cerebral steampunk plot, I don't think are really going to make it into the final version, just because doesn't it's not a solid enough premise to really stick into the story that's emerging now. But it was an interesting way to kick the whole thing off, really. I'm still going to have my bipolar empath, though, who slowly finds control over her powers and manages to figure out her life, hopefully. I already know the beginning, and I know a couple of plot points throughout, and I know the very bitter end that's going to make everyone scream and throw my book in rage. It's all the little fiddly bits in between, though, that's going to be tricky.
Remember, any character that something bad is going to happen to at the end, you have to really write a lot about that character and make the reader fall compassionately in love with that character. That's all I know.
Yeah. Problem is, I know the end is going to be a bit of a twist, so I have to balance the various characters involved, so you're kind of surprised at the end as to what happens to whom. And as far as reading is concerned, I was bad and took books out from the library. So I've been going through the Black Butler manga series. I'm now on volume 5 of, I think they have 12 so far. Because people kept on telling me, read this series, you will like it. And I finally said, okay.
Has it proven fruitful in its promise?
It is a very interesting series with a very interesting premise, and I'm sure the farther I get into it, the more engaging it will be, but at the moment there are other mangas that I much prefer over this one.
Fair.
But there are still, I'm on book 5 of 12 so far from the library, so I'll give it a fair chance and work my way through those, and then we'll see.
Cool.
Thankfully, it is one of those mangas where that's loud. I could theoretically read it on the train without too much awkwardness, because there's not that much fan service in this one. Unlike, say, Fairy Tale, where there are some issues I cannot read on the train. Or at least not awkwardly.
Understood.
And I'm unable to speak for Will or Ed as to what they have been reading, but I know that they are both participating in Nano and are on track and on quota. Perhaps next weekend they will be able to make it on and give us a fuller debriefing.
See how work schedules go next go around.
Yeah, I have a feeling that we're going to be seeing them less and less the closer we get to the full retail season.
I'm sure they can make it the day after Black Friday.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they'll have the entire day off.
Mm-hmm.
Well, moving on
Hmm.
to the next segment, we are actually skipping upcoming events because we don't really have upcoming events for the general populace. We have a couple local events happening for Fairfield County, but that's about it. We don't really have any webinars or workshops happening for the rest of this year. And even though we did manage to apply to be in the Artist Alley for Anime Boston, I have yet to hear back as to how that turned out. So it's still up in the air as to whether or not we will be there in 2014. I'm still hopeful though, because that would be fun.
Do you know if anybody else that has heard back?
No, from what I could tell, the entries have been submitted and they're all full up now. Like you can still submit, but you'll be on the waiting list. So
Mm.
I think they're still reviewing.
Okay, so we made it in before getting waitlisted.
Definitely,
Okay, so that's promising.
hopefully. We got in before they posted that there is a wait list. I'll say that.
Okay,
I'm pretty
in
sure.
before waitlist.
Yeah,
So
I'm pretty sure that we applied within like the first half hour to 40 minutes that the applications were live. So I think we should be safe.
They're
okay,
probably filtering out all the key people that they know need to be there. And then once they filter out those, then it'll be a first come, first serve on that list. So
Yeah,
as long as you're first in, I'm sure you'll probably be fine.
we'll see.
fingers crossed.
Yes. Otherwise, we'll just have to create our own convention
With blackjack
and
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 hookers.
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 You know what? Forget the
Screw the
blackjack.
convention.
Forget the whole thing.
On that note, time for Muse Food.
Yay! Actually,
Uh,
Oh god, you don't have a usual link in the show notes.
I don't. That's not weird.
you do not.
My
One
god.
second. Okay, more than 1 second. Is that the
So what
chat?
you're saying, CJ, is that the podcasts in November might be a little scattered due to NaNoWriMo simultaneously occurring?
Yeah, things are a little crazy this month. Alright, I posted the link in the group chat.
Chat. Here we go.
And
Mm-hmm.
let's see, where is the screen capture now for this thing? There it is.
Oh, you changed the format.
Yeah,
I like it.
I changed the format for the Muse Food because in the great implosion of 2013, I lost the original format for our writing prompts.
Hooray! Hooray! Oh no. Well, I like this. This is good.
Yeah,
True.
the initial concept for the writing prompts was something that can be a one page that you can print out if you want to write something on hard copy, but I feel like anyone who's going to be willing to do that will have their own spare paper on hand, so I can take over that half of the page and toss in the story cubes.
Good point.
With the fine print that we do not actually own, nor are we
I did read that
nor
just
are
now.
we
Yeah.
sponsored by Rory Story Cubes. We just enjoy them. Please don't sue us. We don't get anything out of utilizing them, at least
Well,
not financially.
monetarily,
Yes.
we do benefit in other ways, though.
Emotionally,
Maybe-
spiritually.
Mm. And if ever it does come up that I get like a cease and desist, or if they have issues with it, then by all means I will pull them. I have no qualms about that. It's just if we can use them for these purposes while giving proper attributions, then hopefully we can do that.
Right. It feels like free advertising for them at a certain point.
That's one way to look at it, but that's not the way that
Lawyers look at it.
lawyers or all people
You're
necessarily
using
work.
copyrighted images in your podcast. Look at them. There's 9 of them right next to each other. What are you doing, CJ?
And I even have their website posted in there as well, because their app for the Android and presumably Apple devices as well, it'll actually create a snapshot like this for you based on whatever combo you have up. So I didn't actually format any of this. I just hit random combination and it spits this out, and then take a snapshot. And then I toss it in the writing prompts.
Yeah, I feel like they're probably more concerned with market saturation at this point.
Mm.
And we're only helping that. But back to the subject at hand.
Writing
prompts.
Because sometimes, as writers, we need extra ideas or things to complicate our stories with.
No, I'm sorry. I'm reading the one-liners.
Sure. I'm used to you laughing at me. It's okay.
It's not this time, I swear.
I know how hilarious I can be. Well, on that note, I think Calvin has just volunteered to read the one-liners for this week.
With pleasure. Who instigated the apocalypse this time?
Sorry.
I'm an expert in want-to-staff combat. As tasty as these poisons are, I was hoping for some tea. You don't stab people with pickles. That was the one I was laughing at. The tomes were crumbling from poor maintenance and desert heat. All I did was push the button on the floor. This is poor weather for going to hell. Midterm exams should be sacrificed to a dyspeptic volcano. You're welcome to vote, but only my decision matters. Inkwells are useless in space. And those are your one-liners. One word is for this week are good, tense, puzzled, health, wire, impolite, periodic, control, cap, and paddle.
CJ, I feel like you phoned it in on that first one-word writing prompt. One-word writing prompts. Good. Stuff. Things. The.
Meh.
Set. Like.
Good,
Ostrich.
bad, light and dark,
Is.
was.
Ending sentences and prepositions.
Yeah, I also lost the entire database of what words and one-liners have been used in which writing prompts when, so I'm starting completely from scratch.
Well, at least you didn't, knock on wood, lose the actual buffer of writing prompts.
I have about 50 one-liners in hard copy in my notebook, and the one-worders I've just been pulling from a random word generator. And I'm going to start basically from scratch to create a new database of what words do we use when and all the one-liners. And then if there happen to be any repeats in the future from previous ones before this because of the implosion, oh well.
Whoops.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
And we should have mentioned this at the beginning of this segment, but the writing prompts for this week can be found over at fcwriters.com under the MuseFood page. The latest MuseFood post will be on the home page, but you can also click on the MuseFood Hourglass for previous issues. And as always, if you write a flash fiction or short story utilizing any of these prompts, we would love to read it. You can email us a copy of your short piece or the URL where we can read it over at wordninja@fcwriters.com. Send us a copy and we will review it live on a future episode. And if we have Richie on for that particular episode, chances are we will dub it as well. And of course, for the story cubes, those can be found over at storycubes.com. We do not own them, we do not sponsor them, we just appreciate them. That and they are amusing.
Yes.
Just occurred to me that the word muse is within the word amusing, and that there's probably a connection there. Hooray, Latin etymology.
All right, and with that, we've kind of run through all of our segments. Unless anyone has some last-minute talking points or anything they want to touch base on.
Going back to trying to figure out the fancy Latin etymology for tempo and things like that.
Yes.
According to Wikipedia, anyway, the song that I'm working on would be considered allegro.
That sounds about right.
That's a word that I recognize.
I just wanted to touch on that real quick. And I think that about covers it.
I'll add, going back to talking point number 2, since I wasn't here when you talked that over, and I've already covered everything else in other segments. I just wanted to add that the best part of starting a new story is all of the epic scenes that you have in your head. And now that I'm reading this, I realize that I already did cover this. So I have nothing else to add. Never mind.
Let's see. What next is on the agenda?
I believe that we have reached the point for our sponsorship segment. Unfortunately, my version is out of date for some reason because my tablet is not syncing because it is stubborn. Or did I just not put that version in the show notes? Because that's equally possible. Yeah, I did not put it in our show notes. I just put it on the FC Writers post because I'm clever like that. All right, so I shall read from that one. For all of November, we are unofficially promoting National Novel Writing Month. Duh. Write 50,000 words in 30 days via NaNoWriMo.org. Join a local region of fellow writers and take the time to write a novel in a month, because if you don't, who will? And are you a fan of Naruto by any chance? Check out the Konoha Corner podcast, live streamed on Fridays at around 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time over on YouTube. Konoha Corner podcast is having their final countdown to episode 200. They're at about 191 at the moment, so there's only a few episodes left. So catch them while you can. And if you're more of a fairy tale fan, perhaps, the same cast and crew live streams the Fairy Tale podcast on Monday nights at around 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, also on YouTube. Tune in to either or both shows for manga and anime reviews, fanfic dubbing, and more. I was actually a guest on the Fairy Tale podcast last Monday, and it was most entertaining. And if you have enjoyed or appreciate any of the content that Full Coverage Writers provides, including this podcast, vlogcast, live stream, whatever the hell we call it, you can show that appreciation by sponsoring us. And how would you go about doing that? Easy. go to fcwriters.com, view any of the podcast episode posts, and click on the convenient PayPal donation link that will be included in each post. And while we appreciate any amount that you feel is appropriate and that you can provide us, we have a certain set of donation levels where we give back to you. For $1 of donation funds, you get a shout-out. You can promote your site, social media account, your own podcast, or just say hello to us. If you donate up to $5, you can get a talking point question or a literary news link promoted. So if there's something you want us to banter about or dig into, for the price of a fancy coffee, you can get the entire crew talking. And if you up that to $10 whole of sponsorship monies, you get to sponsor the entire episode. So we will promote whatever it is you would like to have promoted, or talk about whatever you want talked about, and promote you for about 90 minutes of podcasty goodness. And if that doesn't really do it for you, we do have affiliate links on our homepage down at the bottom, over on the left, for Amazon, CreateSpace, and Books A Million. So if there's anything that you want to purchase, or if you're at the point where you're self-publishing, click on one of those links so that we can get a small affiliate. It's actually a couple cents here and there for each click that we get in each sale. And all of those funds go directly back into hosting fees, content creation, and various other literary endeavors that FC Writers is hoping to provide you in the future.
I've been advised by my lawyer to mention that it is not actually going to my obsessive cocaine habit, and that was simply a joke. And I apologize to all people involved who took that seriously, and who are taking this actual sentence seriously as well, because I don't have a lawyer.
So that's where all the money was going.
If you guys knew the real truth, you'd be even more horrified.
That obsessive sniffling kind of gave me pause for a moment.
I didn't need that undeviated septum anyways. It's extra.
And with that, I think it's about time to wrap up this episode and go to attributions. Where can listeners and viewers find all us crazy peoples online? Let's start with the Calvin.
All right. If you have any questions or issues with the FC Writers site, please email me at thewebmaster@fcwriters.com. You may also check out my personal portfolio, Calvin. The website is calvin.cwillia.ms. calvin.cwillia.ms. The email address there is calvin@cwillia.ms. You can also find me at Riffraff, where I am the digital media editor. The website is riffraff.net, riffraf.net. You can email me there, calvin@riffraff.net. On Twitter and Instagram, I am at ccwii, and on Tumblr, I am instacow. And I think that about covers it.
Onwards to Justin.
I am completely antisocial when it comes to any of my personal social media things. However, I do have a website that's slowly launching into full capacity. You can find the infancy of my website at facingmyreality.com. I will be giving more details on what's to come on the website itself and through this very podcast. But basically what's happening is in November, I'm updating only about once a week. In December, I'll be updating Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And then starting in 2014, I'll be providing content every single day. And by 2014, January 1st, I should have the website template and style guide all set up for easy content posting. Right now, the website's a little shaky and not really customized to what I would like. But if you want to see it grow and go on the journey with me from day one, then I recommend you checking it out at facingmyreality.com. And you can email me about the site itself at info@facingmyreality.com.
All right. And as for myself, you can find all of our various resources over at fcwriters.com. And as for social media, we're a little bit of everywhere. We're over at Tumblr at fcwordninja.tumblr.com. Facebook, obviously facebook.com/fullcoveragewriters. Our literary Twitter handle is at fcwordninja. And if there's anything that you want to reach out to us about, either for the podcast or any of our resources or workshops or author interviews, anything at all, email us over at wordninja@fcwriters.com. And with that, it is time to sign out for another week. And we will see you all next Sunday.
Cheers.
Take care.
Gather in groups.
Hey, business is business, so I can't imagine they can complain too much.
Yeah, and we were good. I mean, we put everything back in order afterwards, and I don't think we scared too many random people away. I mean, we are a group of writers, so we're going to start asking questions like, how do you use this medieval term in modern-day English? Or how exactly would you go about killing someone using two different poisons that are inert when alone, but together will create all sorts of chaos? I mean, it's perfectly normal writerly questions, nothing out of the ordinary.
I already have an answer to that question.
All right, what's your answer?
Put one poison in the drink, the other poison in the food. Quick, dirty.
What if the first half has to be a time release portion or something that can stay within the body system for a week or two? And then what?
Just continue adding the other poison in the person's food for the rest of the week until it takes effect.
That would work. And for anyone who's either watching or will watch this in the future, we are not condoning murdering people through poison over time or anything of the sort. Remember, we're writers. We only kill characters. Honest. Because we're doing way too much.
Nothing particularly new.
True. But yes, we thought we'd provide another episode anyway.
Because why not?
And because Nano.
And that too.
Yeah, somehow it magically became November at some point. So now it's even more insane than normal, if that's even possible. I think I've already been to about 8 hours worth of writing events officially, never mind the hours that I get there early to help set up and the time that I stick around afterwards.
You mean just this week?
Just since Friday, since it kicked off on the 1st.
Oh my.
Yeah. And apparently I'm going to have to start setting up an RSVP system for our events because I was expecting maybe 5, 10 people. No, we get 19, 20 per event.
Excellent.
Felt a little sorry for the cafe on Friday because we did just take over the whole place. There were 2 seats left for just random people.
Yeah, it just means more business for them.
Oh, we
Hopefully.
gave them plenty of good business for a solid 5 or 6 hours. I think they were expecting a nice quiet Friday shift. That's not allowed when writers.
Our colleague Justin has actually provided some answers to this talking point. And since I am not taking part in Nano, I'd be more than happy to read his response.
All right, you can be Justin's voice for today.
Alright, according to Justin, he's planning on hitting his word count goal today. Unfortunately, work has become a nightmare. He's mentioned that quite a few times. But even still, he's managed to find the time. The story in his head is good, but he fears there may be a bit too much filler. And another issue he's been having with his story so far is that it's kind of controversial, but no real references to work from.
Yeah, that's one of the ever-existing problems with Nano. There's going to be a lot of filler. That's kind of unavoidable. I've kind of found a good balance so far, although that's not going to work once work kicks in again, but I've been using 750words.com to get my primary 1667 words down for the day. And then, because I've had the time over the weekend, I go back later and try and expand it to a full 2,000 and do minor editing for that day's worth of words. That way I can kind of clean up some of the filler, or at least just note. Good afternoon, ladies and menfolk, and welcome to another episode of Word Ninjas Live. Yes, another title change, and hopefully this one actually sticks, because it seems to be the most appropriate. Because we are not a podcast, since we have video. We are not a vlogcast, because that term is just plain awkward. But we are live, because it is November 3rd, 3:02 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, factoring in daylight savings, which confused the heck out of me this morning. Joining...
Oh, I'm sorry. Isn't it, now that the clocks are rolled back now, isn't it just standard time now?
I can never remember which half of the year is what. All I know is that half my clocks auto-switched and the other half didn't.
That must have been fun. Especially waking up this morning.
Especially as my alarms went off at completely different times than they should have.
Oh no.
Oh,
But yeah, digressions aside.
yes. Officially saying that I am Charles Muir, your instigator of literary insanity, and joining me today is Calvin Williams.
Hello, hello.
And unfortunately, the rest of the podcast crew, or whatever the heck we want to call ourselves now, are
All the other word
otherwise
ninjas.
engaged. Yes. Some are off working and some are off at local writing events. We had talking points today, didn't we?
We
Let's
did?
move on to those.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Convenient segue. Alright, talking point number 1 is going to be a little quick this week, considering how many people are on the show today. Considering...
And also, how many people out of those taking part today are actually participating?
Yeah, that too. But yeah, talking point number 1. It is NaNoWriMo week. Number 1. So we're touching base. How are things going for everyone? Well, for the 3 people unable to attend today's episode, I know Will and Ed are, let's see, 5,000 and 6,000 words, respectively. I'm not sure about Justin. And as for myself, I'm at about 5,000 and change. which is good because that's today's word count goal.
How much?
It's like 5,002, I think, is the goal for today.
Oh, okay.
It's 1,667 times 3.
Gotcha.
I'm too lazy to do that in my head. 5,001. I was close.
Yeah, good enough.